Anjavihari Jaya Radha Madhava Anjavihari Jaya Gopirana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopirana Vallabha Giridharadhari Asura Nandana Bhadrana Ranjana Asura Nandana Bhadrana Ranjana Ramuna Thera Vanachari Yamuna Thera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Anjavihari Jaya Radha Madhava Anjavihari Jaya Gopinana Vallabha Giridharadhari Asura Nandana Bhadrana Ranjana Asura Nandana Bhadrana Ranjana Yamuna Thera Vanachari Yamuna Thera Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Raya Prabhupadaya, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupadaya, Prabhupada. Jai ISKCON Govinda ki jai, Control Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Guru Pamanandi. Oh glories to Madhavudis, oh glories to Madhavudis, oh glories to Madhavudis, oh glories to Shigon Shiganda. Reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, answers by citing the Lord's version, text number 34. Ham Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ham Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ham Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Viteratam yat pratiyate na pratiyata chatmani tadvidyadamano mayam yatabaso yatatamaha Viteratam yat pratiyata na pratiyata chatmani tadvidyadmatmano mayam yatabaso yatatamaha viteratam yat pratiyata na pratiyata chatmani tadvidyadamano mayam yatabaso yatatamaha yatam yat pratiyata na pratiyata chatmani tadvidyadatmano mayam yatabaso yatatamaha viteyatam yat pratiyata Ladies. Retear without atom value yat that which pratiyata appears to be na not pratiyata appears to be cha and atmani in relation to me tat that vidyat you must know Atmanaha, mayam, illusory energy. Yata, just as Abashaha, the reflection, Yata, as Tamaha, the darkness. Translation, Prabhu Yasesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Please repeat, O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So it's a 5-page purport only. But the conclusion is basically the translation says, as one simple point that Prabhupada mentions, that anything that is considered to be separate from Krishna is simply an illusory vision. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the previous verse, it has already been concluded that in any stage of the cosmic manifestation, its appearance, its sustenance, its growth, its interactions of different energies, its deterioration and its disappearance has its basic relation with the existence of the personality of Godhead. And as such, whenever there is forgetfulness of this prime relation with the Lord, and whenever things are accepted as real without being related to the Lord, that conception is called a product of the illusory energy of the Lord. Because nothing can exist without the Lord, it should be known that the illusory energy is also an energy of the Lord. Very important point. It should be known that the illusory energy is also an energy of the Lord. The right conclusion of dovetailing everything in relationship with the Lord is called Yogamaya, or the energy of union, and the wrong conception of detaching a thing from its relationship to the Lord is called the Lord's Devi Maya or Mahamaya. Both the Mayas also have a connection with the Lord, because nothing can exist without being related to him. As such, the wrong conception of detaching relationships from the Lord is not false but illusory. Misconceiving one thing for another thing is called illusion. For example, accepting a rope as a snake is illusion, but the rope is not false. The rope as exists in front of the illusion person is not at all false, but the acceptance is illusory. Therefore, the wrong conception of accepting this material manifestation as being divorced from the energy of the Lord is illusion, but it is not false. And this illusory conception is called the reflection of the reality in the darkness of ignorance. Anything that appears as apparently not being produced out of my energy is called Maya. The conception that the living entity is formless, or that the Supreme Lord is formless, is also illusion. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.12 it is said by the Lord in the midst of the battlefield that the warriors standing in front of Arjuna himself, and even the Lord had all existed before. They were existing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and they would all continue to be individual personalities in the future also. Even after the annihilation of the present body, and even after being liberated from the bondage of material existence. In all circumstances, the Lord and the living entities are individual personalities, and the personal features of both the Lord and the living beings are never abolished. Only the influence of the illusory energy, the reflection of light in the darkness, can, by the mercy of the Lord, be removed. In the material world, the light of the sun is also not independent, nor is that of the moon. The real source of light is the Brahmajyoti, which diffuses light from the transcendental body of the Lord, and the same light is reflected in varieties of lights: the light of the sun, the light of the moon, the light of fire, the light of electricity. So the identity of the self as being unconnected to the Supreme Self, the Lord, is also illusion. And the false claim, I am the Supreme, is the last illusory snare of the same Maya, or the external energy of the Lord. The Vedanta Sutra, in the very beginning, affirms that everything is born from the Supreme, and thus, as explained in the previous verse, all individual living entities are born from the energy of the Supreme Living Being, the personality of Godhead. Brahma himself was born from the energy of the Lord, and all other living entities are born from the energy of the Lord through the agency of Brahma. None of them has any existence without being dovetailed with the Supreme Lord. The independence of the individual living entity is not real independence, but is just the reflection of the real independence existing in the Supreme Being, the Lord. The false claim of supreme independence by the conditioned souls is illusion, and this conclusion is admitted in this verse. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge become illusioned, and therefore the so-called scientists, physiologists, empiric philosophers, etc. become dazzled by the glaring reflection of the sun, moon, electricity, etc., and deny the existence of the Supreme Lord, putting forward theories and different speculations about the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of everything material. The medical practitioner may deny the existence of the soul in the physiological bodily construction of an individual person, but he cannot give life to a dead body, even though all the mechanisms of the body exist even after death. The psychologist makes a serious study of the physiological conditions of the brain, as if the construction of the cerebral lump were the machine of the functioning mind. But in the dead body, the psychologist cannot bring back the function of the mind. These scientific studies of the cosmic manifestation, or the bodily construction independent of the Supreme Lord, are different, reflective, intellectual gymnastics only. But at the end, they are all illusion and nothing more. All such advancement of science and knowledge in the present context of material civilization is but an action of the covering influence of the illusory energy. The illusory energy has two phases of existence, namely the covering influence and the throwing influence. By the throwing influence, the illusory energy throws the living entities into the darkness of ignorance, and by the covering influence, she covers the eyes of men with a poor fund of knowledge about the existence of the Supreme Person, who enlightened the Supreme Individual Living Being, Brahma. The identity of Brahma with the Supreme Lord is never claimed herein, and therefore such a foolish claim by the man with a poor fund of knowledge is another display of the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 16:18-20 that demoniac persons who deny the existence of the Lord are thrown more and more into the darkness of ignorance, and thus such demoniac persons transmigrate life after life without any knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The sane man, however, is enlightened in the disciplic succession from Brahmaji, who was personally instructed by the Lord, or in the disciplic succession from Arjuna, who was personally instructed by the Lord and the Bhagavad Gita. He accepts this statement of the Lord, Aham savasya prabhavo mata savam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddhi bhava samanvataha. Bhagavad Gita 10:8. The Lord is the original source of all emanations, and everything that is created, maintained, and annihilated exists by the energy of the Lord. The same man who knows this is actually learned, and therefore he becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Although the reflectory energy of the Lord displays various illusions to the eyes of a person with a poor fund of knowledge, the sane person knows clearly that the Lord can act even from far, far beyond our vision by his different energies, just as fire can diffuse heat and light from a distant place. In the medical science of the ancient sages known as Ayurveda, there is a definite acceptance of the Lord's supremacy in the following words: Jagad Yone Anichasya Chad Anandaika Rupanaha Pumso Stu Prakriti Nicha Pratichaiva Bashpataha Achetana Pitaitanya Yogena Jagaratmana Paratmanaha Akarod Vishvan Akilam Anicham Nata Kritam. There is one person who is the progenitor of this cosmic manifestation and whose energy acts as Prakriti, or the material nature, dazzling like a reflection. By such illusory action of Prakriti, even dead matter is caused to move by the cooperation of living energy of the Lord, and the material world appears like a dramatic performance to the ignorant eyes. The ignorant person, therefore, may even be a scientist or physiologist in the drama of Prakriti, while the sane person knows Prakriti as the illusory energy of the Lord. By such a conclusion, as confirmed by Bhagavad Gita, it is clear that the living entities are also a display of the Lord's superior energy, para-prakriti, just as the material world is a display of the Lord's inferior energy, apara-prakriti. The superior energy of the Lord cannot be as good as the Lord, although there is very little difference between the energy and the possessor of the energy, or the fire and the heat. Fire is possessed of heat, but heat is not fire. This simple thing is not understood by the man with a poor fund of knowledge who falsely claims that the fire and heat are the same. This energy of the fire, namely heat, is explained here as a reflection and not directly fire. Therefore, the living energy represented by the living energy represented by the living entities is the reflection of the Lord and never the Lord himself. Being the reflection of the Lord, the existence of the living entity is dependent on the Supreme Lord, who is the original light. This material energy may be compared to darkness, as actually it is darkness, and the activities of the living entity in the darkness are reflections of the original light. The Lord should be understood by the context of this verse. Non-dependence of both the energies of the Lord is explained as Maya, or illusion. No one can make a solution of the darkness of ignorance simply by the reflection of light. Similarly, no one can come out of material existence simply by the reflected light of the common man. One has to receive the light from the original light itself. The reflection of sunlight in the darkness is unable to drive out the darkness, but the sunlight outside the reflection can drive out the darkness completely. In darkness, no one can see the things in a room. Therefore, a person in the dark is afraid of snakes and scorpions, although there may not be such things. But in the light, the things in the room can be clearly seen, and the fear of snakes and scorpions is at once removed. Therefore, one has to take shelter of the light of the Lord, as in Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, and not the reflective personalities who have no touch with the Lord. No one should hear Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam from a person who does not believe in the existence of the Lord. Such a person is already doomed, and any association with such a doomed person makes the associator also doomed. According to the Padma Purana, within the material compass, there are innumerable material universes, and all of them are full of darkness. Any living being, beginning from the Brahmas, there are innumerable Brahmas in innumerable universes, to the insignificant ant, are all born in darkness, and they require factual light from the Lord to see him directly, just as the sun can be seen only by the direct light of the sun. No lamp or man-made torch, however powerful it may be, can help one see the sun. The sun reveals itself. Therefore, the action of different energies of the Lord, or the personality of Godhead himself, can be realized by the light manifested by the causeless mercy of the Lord. The impersonalists say that God cannot be seen. God can be seen by the light of God and not by man-made speculations. Here, this light is specifically mentioned as Vidyat, which is an order by the Lord to Brahma. This direct order of the Lord is a manifestation of his internal energy And this particular energy is the means of seeing the Lord face to face. Not only Brahma, but anyone who may be graced by the Lord to see such merciful, direct, internal energy can also realize the personal Godhead without any mental speculation. So, anybody count how many times Prabhupada said illusion? It's about 15, 20 times. So, as we said, basically the conclusion is that if anybody sees anything as separate from Krishna, it's Maya or illusion. So this is the second verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam Chaita Sloki. So the 4 seed verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. So as we've got in Bhagavad Gita, we've got the Bhagavad Gita Chaita Sloki, also verses 10, chapter 10, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there, that's the Bhagavad Gita seed verses. So there in the verse 8, Krishna basically describes himself, his position as the Supreme Personality. And then he describes the situation of his devotees who are constantly speaking about him, glorifying him. And the next 2 verses, Krishna explains how he's residing in the heart and he's inspiring everybody to come closer to him. So that's the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, those 4 verses. So in Bhagavatam, we have the essence of the Bhagavatam in these 4 verses. So basically, yesterday we heard that before creation and annihilation, it is only I, the Supreme Person, that is absolute existence. That's more or less the conclusion of the purport. Today's verse, whatever there is, if it has not relationship to me, it is my Maya or illusory energy. And the verse we'll hear tomorrow, I am simultaneously with and without everything. And the last verse, a person who is searching for the absolute truth should see the Supreme Person in all space and time and circumstances. So this is the real essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, that nothing can be separated from Krishna, and anything that we may think is separate is simply our illusion. And that Krishna, even though creation, destruction is going on in the material realm, Krishna is always there. He's there in the beginning and he's there at the end. He is always there in between. And one should strive to always be seeing the presence of Krishna in all places and all time and all circumstances. So Srimad Bhagavatam basically is the conclusion. Of course, Srimad Bhagavatam is all about hearing about the wonderful pastimes of Krishna and his devotees. But unless we slowly come into conclusion of these 4 seed verses, then maybe we're missing the point that, we have to understand there is nothing that's not connected with Krishna. And anything that we think, as Prabhupada says repeatedly, is simply our illusion. And he says that even the material energy, it is still my energy, that this divine energy of mine, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature. He says it's very easy to overcome, but the main point is Deva Eshu Gunamai. It is divine energy. It's not anybody else's energy. It is his own divine energy. But very difficult to overcome, but one who surrenders unto Krishna, it becomes very easily to cross over. So, of course, there's a point of the material energy, the material realm is there for those who, in this illusion, are thinking they can enjoy separate from Krishna. So that's our case, basically. Of course, we're a little bit fortunate that we've understood this point and we're trying to reconnect ourselves with Krishna. The majority of living entities in the material realm haven't got to that point. They're still thinking that I am the enjoyer of everything. I am the Supreme Personality. I am the center of the universe. or something similar. That's the concept, generally, of the conditioned souls in this world. But again and again, Prabhupada is saying this is an illusory understanding. But nevertheless, that's their desire. So therefore, Krishna, understanding that it's not going to be good for them, but nevertheless, he says, okay, if that's what you want, but don't blame me. Unfortunately, everybody does blame God. Something goes wrong, and immediately they want to blame God. Why is he so cruel? Why has he done this? Etc., etc. But we can only blame ourselves. That's one of our Maharajas, Mahavishnu Goswami, the elder. He's passed away now, but I remember a class in Perth years ago. He said something to me was very profound, that the Vaishnava is very expert in the art of blaming oneself. I mean, who else are we going to blame? Ultimately, we can blame somebody else that because they did something to us, but the intelligent person sees they're just the instrument for our karma. Krishna is using them as an instrument for us to receive our karma. So ultimately, we can only blame ourselves, because by the influence of or the misuse of our free will, we've impelled Krishna to allow us to come to this material world. So one could say, well, if God is perfect and all loving, why did he give us this free will where we're able to misuse it and engage in pious or sinful activity and thus create suffering? Something like, why would loving parents give a small child a knife to play with? They know the child's going to hurt themselves, But so it's a little bit like that. Why, if Krishna knows we're going to injure ourselves one way or another, life after life in the material world, and create suffering, why does he give us this free will? So that's like a perpetual question that people ask. I've seen this question come up on question and answer forums online that they're talking about, theological questions. It's, well, if he knows we're going to suffer, why does he give us free will like that? And it was almost like we have free will, and along with that free will, we have the intelligence and discrimination, but still it's God's fault if we misuse that. It's like, God can't win. So, according to some people, but the idea is that Krishna gives us free will, because without that we cannot experience that true love of Krishna, that true love of God. It's like a master-slave sort of thing, that we may be serving, like a servant or a slave may be serving the master, but there's no love there. They're being forced to do it. So where's the question of love? But if we voluntarily utilise our free will to serve Krishna with love, that's the proper utilisation of free will, and that's why that free will is there. So without free will, there can't be any love. So, but, we have free will, but we can choose what we want. We can choose to remain in the material world, or we can choose to re-establish our loving relationship with Krishna and ultimately go back to our original home in the spiritual realm. But we have that free will to choose what we want. So, and of course, as I said, along with that free will comes intelligence and discrimination. So discrimination basically means the ability to understand what's wrong and what's right. That's discrimination. So, of course, everybody will be thinking what's right and wrong differently. Like somebody who's made a career of robbing banks may think that's right, that, society owes me, and there's money in the bank and I can just help myself because nothing wrong with that, or something similar like that. But, the police force, they're thinking that that's wrong. So they make a creator stopping people doing that or catching people who have done that. So what's right and wrong ultimately has to come down to Krishna's platform or understanding what's right and wrong. Otherwise, everybody has a different idea, and therefore there's so much conflict. At the moment, according to the Russian leader, it's quite right for him to invade Ukraine, but I don't think the Ukrainians are thinking the same thing, and most of the world is thinking this is not right, this is wrong. So who do we listen to? Do we listen to, everybody's got a different opinion. How do we understand who's telling who's presenting the proper information? So ultimately we have to go to the ultimate source, to Krishna. So if we establish that his right and wrong is the topmost platform, then we're in a very secure position. Otherwise, we're just floating around listening to so many different opinions, and we really don't know, who to listen to or what to listen to or how to act. So you can use the example just on this point of free will, that Krishna and Balaram, the cowherd boys, they have their Nitya Leela pastimes in Vrindavan with the cows and calves. So the cows and calves, they just love Krishna and Balaram, the cowherd boys. And Krishna and Balaram, they love the cows, and there's so much interaction between them. But then we had one personality sent by Kamsa, Vatsasura. So he took the form of a calf. So he looked exactly the same as all the other calves. But what was the difference? He was utilising his free will to try to kill Krishna. Whereas all the other calves, they're utilising their free will to whatever extent that, in an animal body they have, to give Krishna pleasure. But Vatsasura, due to misuse of that independence, due to that, demoniac mentality, he's using that free will to kill Krishna. And in the end, of course, he was vanquished by Krishna. Another Palambasura, another demon sent by Kamsa, he was in the form of a cowherd boy, and he looked exactly the same as all the other cowherd boys, are having so much fun playing games of Krishna and Balaram, and just, we hear the example of the gopis are cursing Brahma, that he's not a very good creator because he gave us eyelids, and when we blink we can't see Krishna for that split second. So the cowherd boys, it's a similar thing, that Krishna goes behind a tree, and for that split second they can't see Krishna, and they almost collapse out of anxiety and separation. So this is the mood of the cowherd boys, that they're loving Krishna and Balaram so much. But Palambasura, he took the form of the cowherd boy, but what was the difference? He had so much anger and hate towards Krishna. And of course it was Balaram. They had the game that you're riding on people's, the other shoulders and etc. And, just like boys are playing. But Palambasura took Balaram on his shoulders away to kill him. But ultimately, through that free will, he could have been playing with all the cowherd boys, utilising his free will to love Krishna. But due to that demoniac mentality, he chose to try to kill, or in this instance, Balaram. But so he was vanquished by Balaram also. And one other example, when Krishna and Balaram entered in Mathura, we hear in Krishna book here, walking through the streets, and they were stopping at the different stalls, and so many of the shopkeepers, they were so happy to offer Krishna flowers and new cloth and perfumes and so many things. And, Krishna and Balaram were just blessing them in so many different ways, and the shopkeepers were just in ecstasy that Krishna and Balaram, come to my shop. But then what happened, they came to the Dobiwala, the washerman, and he was there washing Kamsa's clothes. And, Krishna and Balaram, they're just wearing simple, cowherd sort of cloth. And they saw that this Dobiwala, he was washing this very opulent, royal, regal cloth. And they thought that we would look very nice in that cloth. And so they asked the Dhobi, please give us that. And the Dhobi became very angry. He said, who do you think you are? I am the Dhobi for King Kamsa. I am washing his cloth. And so, he could have, like the other shopkeepers, given Krishna and Balaram some of, this royal cloth. But he chose, but due to that misuse of free will, he became very angry. So in the end, he was vanquished by Krishna also. And they took the cloth and wore it anyway. So this we're talking about free will. Everybody has the opportunity to come closer to Krishna, to serve Krishna, or we have the misusing our free will to go further and further away. And like Prabhupada says in the purport, for those persons who want to reject Krishna's position, they're again and again taking birth in complete ignorance and throwing down into demoniac species. And so again and again, until or unless they re-establish themselves in their original relationship with Krishna. So one point I was hearing a class on this verse by Radhanath Swami, and he was saying, so some are searching for God, but we're searching for Krishna. Is there a difference? What's the difference? Krishna is God, but many people saying, I'm searching for God, but why do we say we're searching for Krishna? So he made the point that Krishna is the highest manifestation of that sweet, loving, reciprocation, or the highest, most sweet manifestation of God. So God comes in so many different ways. We hear in the Bible, I think it's the Old Testament, that I think it was at Moses that he saw the burning bush. And the Christians talk about, well, nobody's seen good, but nobody has seen God, but Moses saw God in the form of a burning bush. So in a sense, I guess you could say that's a divine manifestation. The Supreme Person chose to appear in that particular form. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, years ago, he was speaking to one cardinal in Philippines. Somehow or other, his name was actually Cardinal Sin. But anyway, he was like one of the highest ranking Christian officials in Philippines. And Maharaj was saying, so what is your understanding of God? And Cardinal Sin said, I see God as a burning candle. That's how I meditate on God. So, it's somehow or other he's seeing God as, more elemental understanding. That God is one of the elements. And, everybody's seeing, different traditions, and individuals are seeing God in different ways. But for us, based on Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, previous acharyas, we're seeing Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, not a burning bush or a burning candle or anything else. He's the supreme personality, and he loves us, and he reciprocates with our love. And by hearing all these, different activities and pastimes in Vrindavan and elsewhere, that's such sweet manifestation of his pastimes. So to say we're looking for God is good, but a higher understanding is that understanding of God as Krishna, the Supreme Personality. Every scripture has the essence of God, and Islam has Allah, but generally it seems to be that he's very stern and authoritarian and almost angry. As soon as you step out of place, you're going to get hit, heavy sort of thing. And I've heard some Christians say that, different churches, they say, yeah, I like how you present Krishna in my church. They always talk about God being angry like that. So, of course, God isn't always angry, but it's more of somehow or other it's been presented by his worshippers in that particular way. But Krishna is the essence of sweetness, and by hearing constantly his different pastimes, we can properly realise that his dealings with the gopis and the cowherd boys and, residents of Vrindavan is the essence of sweetness, his pastimes. And, example that, like the gopis, they are in the rasa dance, but they all become very proud because Krishna had manifested individually in front of every different gopi. And each gopi was thinking, I'm actually special because only Krishna is dancing with me, like that. And so Krishna within the heart, of every of them all understood that there's some pride there. So then he chose to just disappear, and just to increase that anxiety and separation for his gopis. He says later that actually I didn't disappear, but I was just witnessing how you're feeling separation and anxiety for me having disappeared. And so the gopis, they started wandering through the forest in great anxiety, and at some point Krishna was there, but in his four-hand Narayan form. So four-hand Narayan, this is the Supreme Personality. He's in a majestic form. And so what did the gopis do? They said, Dandavats Narayan, have you seen Krishna anywhere? It's like, it wasn't a big thing. We could imagine if Narayan appeared before us, it was like, well, we couldn't really understand, but nevertheless, the highest majestic form of the Supreme Person is appearing before us. But for the gopis, they were just thinking, they were just asking all the trees and the creepers and the birds and the animals, have you seen Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? Oh, Dandavats Narayan, have you seen Krishna anywhere? Like that, So their essence, their relationship was with Krishna, that highest, sweetest form of God. And when Arjuna asked to see Krishna's universal form, of course he asked that basically not so much for himself, but for everybody to come, that if somebody is claiming to be the Supreme Personality, they should be able to manifest their universal form just to show their actual divinity. But Arjuna, he became very frightened. It was a very fearful, like fearsome sort of form, universal form. But after that, Arjuna was saying, I just want to see that two-handed form of Krishna. So that was his relationship. That was the sweet sort of form that he was always relating to and had his relationship with. So, once again, like Narayan, the universal form, very majestic, very fearful form. But Arjuna didn't really have a taste for that. He just wanted to see his friend, the two-handed form of Krishna. And another example, Parikshit Maharaj, we know the story. He was attacked by what was that weapon, the nuclear weapon? Brahmastra, within the womb, very subtle weapon. It was just focused on Parikshit Maharaj as an embryo within the womb. So Krishna, he appeared in a particular form to protect Parikshit Maharaj. And so when Parikshit Maharaj took birth, because Parikshit means the examiner, he was always, everybody he saw, he was examining, is this the form that I saw within the womb? Is this the form of Krishna? So he was always looking for Krishna. He didn't really have, mentality eyes for anyone else. He just wanted to see that same form of Krishna that he saw within the womb originally. So for ourselves, we're always trying to develop that relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality. And, and that's the particular tradition and line that we're coming in, the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, in the mood of the gopis, always everything for Krishna. So we can understand it's either our good fortune or somehow or other from previous birth that we're attracted to that particular relationship. Of course, everybody has that original relationship, but not everybody sort of is able to fully, allows it to fully manifest. We may get distracted
like everybody throughout the material realm, the unlimited jivas, we all have that original loving relationship with Krishna. But for most of us at the present moment, we haven't properly realized that. But for those fortunate persons, that verse at Brahmananda, Brahmate Kona Bhagavana Jeev Kuru Krishna Pashada Paya Bhakti Lata Beej from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the living entities are birth after birth, wandering throughout the different Brahmanandas, the different universes, but one who is very fortunate comes in contact with Krishna or Guru representative, and the faith is manifest, the Bhakti Lata Beej, the seed of devotion manifests within the heart. So it's only very fortunate that those jivas come into that particular situation. And of course the Gaudiya Vaishnava line that we're connected with is particularly focused specifically on that we're trying to reconnect with our original relationship with Krishna. Of course, in the material world, our disease is that we sort of see and use things as if they were separate from Krishna. This is for my enjoyment. I'm going to enjoy this. And what's that other person doing with that? That should be mine. So it's like, that the saying is that we like to, how does it go? We like things, and I'm trying to think. We're using people and we're collecting things, something like that it is, that, we're trying to manipulate other people to get their property, I guess is the conclusion. In other words, we're seeing everything separate from Krishna, but the one with the proper mentality is seeing that everything is connected to Krishna, as Prabhupada stresses again and again. You see, Hanuman, he was trying to connect the energy with the energetic, bring Sita back to Ram. Whereas Ravana, he was trying to enjoy Sita separately. So that's sort of like, we have to examine, have we got a Hanuman-like heart or a Ravana-like heart? Are we trying to enjoy Krishna's energy separately, or are we trying to reconnect? Of course, to reconnect is very simple. Just Hare Krishna, we're chanting Krishna's name and his energy, we're connecting them together. So we're almost out of time. We'll end there. If there's any quick question? Husband or wife, which one?
I find the thing with free will very complicated, because sometimes we think we have the free will, right? But we're so conditioned or so entangled in the modes of material nature. Isn't the actual free will what we have just to back to the mercy of Krishna?
Isn't the free will, sorry?
Isn't the only free will in the end we actually have to back to the mercy from Krishna?
More or less, it's either we serve Krishna or serve Maya. That's our two choices. That's what it comes down to, yes.
One more question. What are the qualifications to be able to speak on the Bhagavatam?
By hearing Bhagavatam primarily. Yeah. You learn to speak by hearing other people speak.
Because we're reading that we should not listen to somebody that speaks the Bhagavatam that doesn't believe in Krishna. Or what if somebody's, for example, really proud when they speak, like they know everything and have ownership?
Well, everybody's got a little bit of pride. We're in the material world, But by hearing and speaking of Bhagavatam, the pride slowly, it's like you don't criticise a dirty person who's in the shower. They're trying to get wet. They're trying to get clean. Or a person in the hospital, they're sick. But they're there trying to get better. So by hearing and speaking on Bhagavatam, that all their anartas, unwanted things, are slowly being, if we try to look at that highest level of who's qualified, probably nobody's qualified, starting with me, but somehow or other, we're here speaking. So, by the blessings of the devotee, somehow or other, we're getting a little bit of realization, and hopefully the listeners are getting some realizations also. Hare Krishna. Just one last. Yeah. One last.
In the beginning, you spoke of how super soul took away. I don't remember now. I was going to ask you. You spoke of
Super soul.
seeing everything in connection with Krishna,
Right.
the material energy included.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, how do you know when you're seeing everything in connection with Krishna? Because I feel like the mind sometimes can.
Well, it's really, are we doing? Why are we doing anything? Are we doing it for Krishna or doing it for ourselves? If we're doing it for Krishna, it means we're seeing everything is connected with him. But once again, in the beginning, it's always karma, misra, bhakti, it's mixed. We're doing it for Krishna, but we're hoping we're going to enjoy something as well. So it's always going to be mixed, but the intention is what's important. If we're doing our best on trying to do this to please Krishna, then we have the understanding, the intention that we're trying to reconnect the energetic to the energy to the energetic. We're trying to reconnect everything to the Supreme Source, Krishna. If the intention is there, that's good. But if we're, we could be on the altar offering arti, thinking that, we're doing everything paka, but if our mind is somewhere different, then, it's not so much the action as the intention that's important. Even if there's some fault, there's always going to be some fault in the material world, but the intention is there, well, that's a good starting point. And Krishna within the heart, he understands. He sees that intention. He doesn't see all our other faults, he just sees our intention. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Srimad Bhagavatam. Ki Jai.